Everything's nice and level, looking good. I got finger width-ish. So there's where we're at. So she's looking pretty sweet, digging it.
Brother, she is looking good.
Once I got this stuff, it kind of changed what I was doing. So now today is going to be getting this mounted, and working our steps forward to figuring out the charge tubes, how they're going to be ran to where I can start putting the motor together and so on and so forth. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. All the trimming and everything kind of paid off. I have the box in right now. I think it's gonna work. Here, let me show you what's going on. So there's the box. You can see the hole and everything I had to make. What I'm also fighting, and you guys are probably not gonna see it too well, is where the box is in this area here. You can see the curve that the front nose has. So it's not perfectly straight. Where it is up here on top of the radiator support, there. Tell you what, let's go to the other side of the car. You'll be able to get the idea of what I'm fighting. So here, okay, now you can see that's what I'm fighting. That rounded shape in there, and then where it lifts up here, I have to get above that to be able to get it to sink in farther. So all of that I'm fighting. So I had to bring this edge up higher. A lot higher than what this one is. I would say I'm up into here. I probably went an inch higher than what I am over here. But to get it up, to miss that, and I carved out a lot of this section. I still have the bolts connecting, but I carved out like this section here. Imagine like a nice straight line going right down to there and then coming over to fit that box inside there. So that's where this side is. Now I can take it, I can push this in. Here, let me hold you guys up here. It's going to be a little tricky trying to hang on to the camera and do this at the same time, so I apologize, you guys. It's a little off. But there. You can see how much room I have to the lid. I can comfortably get the lid off. I'm in pretty good. And down low, you can see where I am to the tire. I'll probably take that one off that's down there. That's right by the tire. I'll probably cut that off. That guy on the side to the frame, obviously that'll get bolted right to the frame, and this front section that's down in here, I'm going to have to do a little camera trickery. You can see that front section. All I'm going to do is a bar that goes across that connects the two, and then it's going to get welded onto the radiator support. So I'm pretty sure everything will work out pretty well. I'm not going to cut the one by the tire off until the very end, because just in case if something happens and I need to use it, or maybe I got to cut it off and relocate it in a different spot, but I'm not going to have that. Just kind of, you look in the wheel well and here's this tab poking out right in front of the tire. I'm not going to do that. So if I can get 3 out of the 4 tabs to work, great. If I have to relocate it, I have to relocate it. If I can make it work without it, I'll make it work without it. So this is where we are at now. What I ended up doing was I made this front brace here, but I made it detachable here. This is going to get welded onto the frame. What I ended up doing was I took a chunk of angle iron, ran it all the way up, cut a 1-inch section out, ran this going across. So now I have this whole angle iron edge, and then I welded a gusset in on the backside. This ain't moving. Those are 5/16 bolts. This is a total of, I believe, 4 inches. So I tried to get it as close to this first one as possible. What's happening here is I'll be able to unbolt this. This is welded on the underside, so these bolts are welded on this side, so I can just lock this in. This will probably never come off, but if I have to somehow take this tank out, I can just pull these 3 bolts off, which will be welded off the frame right in here. So right there is where I'm looking at it. So I'll be able to get to it pretty comfortable. Getting to the other ones that are actually holding the ice tank down, I'm not going to be able to get to those because those are literally right against the fender. There's no way I'm going to be able to get in there if it was mounted solid, so I'm leaving that on. Ooh, excuse me, just got done eating lunch. So what I figured was with that, I think it's like 12, 13 inches long. With that piece still connected, I can take it, and being in this front section, I can take it like that, and I can tip it, come back, and then come up and out. So it already works. I already trial fitted this. And then I have this piece that's 1/4x1 steel. I'm going to have that in there, and then I'm going to weld a gusset coming in from here to here. So that goes off the frame. You can see how close I am to the tire. I mean, that's, you know, that's like my hand away. And then once I turn the tire, I have like 1.5 inches from the farthest point here to this guy here. So once I actually rotate that tire in, I still have 1.5 inches worth. Well, the tire's not going to go anywhere. You know, it's not like the tire's going to shift forward. That's not going to happen. So the tank is in. You can see now everything's nice and level, looking good. This is the bracket that I made up. That comes off of there. I'm going to weld a gusset in that goes from that top side down to the flat. So it's going to come off of, right now it's coming off the side here and I have nothing here. It's going to come off the radiator support and I'm going to weld a gusset in. So that'll strengthen that up. So I can unbolt that and then I can just swoop it out. I can just take the whole thing and just go and take it up and out. So it works real nice in that point. And then I have that welded on. So now you guys can see I can wiggle the whole frickin' car with this thing. I can practically stand on it. So if that's going to be basically 25 pounds worth of 25 pounds worth of water and ice, that ain't going anywhere. The air to water is officially in. You can see the little bracket I made coming off of the ice box. So I got another chunk of ooh, that's still warm. 1/4x1 steel coming off. It's bolted. And then my little adapter here. And it gives me enough to where these are on the opposite side. They're not protruding down below the car. So I'm okay there. And then I got to cut this little extra chunk off right here. But I have a piece of 1/4x1 steel going forward. And it's got a slight bend going up. And then I have a chunk of 1x1, which you can see down in there, to lift me up to even this off. So it's all nice and level now. So now we are going to start working on doing the actual charge tubes. I put the radiator back in and I had the tape over here. Once I put the radiator in, I thought, man, I'm way off. I got probably 1.5 inches or so I can go. That is the edge of the radiator. So now, edge of the radiator is like right there. I think I can come through right next to the cool tank. And then over here, I have tons of room. I'm not sure if I'm going to have to get rid of this. This is for the oil relocation or oil filter relocation. I'm going to try not to move it. If I have to, I can put it in some other spot. So that is where we're at now. So the box is in for good. Well, not in for good. I'm going to have to take it out, paint everything. But that's locked in. You can see where my lines are. So everything's easy to get to. So it's just short little 16 AN lines. Looks like 390s, and I'm going to use 145. And then put those on. I'll put caps on the opposite side of those. That'll be done. And then the, well, you can't really see it. The, the drain. I'm going to have to make sure that I keep it on the bottom side of the tank, and I'm going to mount it probably to the outside edge of the frame, and then just have like a release valve, petcock, whatever you want to call it. I'll have that on there just to be able to drain the water out when I need to drain the water out. So there she be. Now I got to clean up all around where I cut. I'm going to make that look better. But that's a 45 coming out of there. And let me come around so you can see what's going on here. And then it's just a 90-degree boot to the 45. Coming through. I got finger width-ish. So now I know that one's right where I want it to be. So from figuring out from there, you know, coming up, you kind of get the idea where here's a 90. Well, then that's going to put me up, and I'll probably use another 45. So I'll start figuring out all the lines and everything I need. The driver side, that'll be nothing. This was the side that I was going to fight with. So I knew as soon as I had this done, then I can start working on getting the motor in and doing that. And that'll be the next step. Block is officially in the car. We got that bolted up to the transmission. Motor plate is bolted down. I had to chop that section out. I tried this before with an F2 in it, and I have a different bracket setup, but I had to trim that away to be able to get the F2 in there. So now that we got all this stuff ready to rock and roll, so all of that again is ready to go, now we're going to throw the heads on it, and I'm going to be able to start getting those charge pipes figured out. So at least get to see what it's going to look like in the car. So yeah, let me grab the heads. We'll start putting those on. Wished I was actually this close and everything was done and ready to put in the car like what you see, but it's not, unfortunately. But it gives us a good idea of what it's going to look like, how high everything's sitting. There we be. A few things that we're going to have to address. I just got off the phone with Steve, and I asked him if they make a relocation bracket for the Procharger, and he does. But he wanted to see some pictures to see if it would move it enough for what I need. So here, let me show you what's going on. So there's where we're at. So she's looking pretty sweet, digging it. I can't clock that down anymore, because if I do, I'm gonna hit the tire. Also, if I try to clock it anymore, you know, I got to worry about hitting control arm. You know, just movement in that sense. I'm gonna be fighting. I'm going to lay you right on the front nose of the car. So you can see right here is where the hood's going to be. I still have to come up with a 90, come around, so I'm going to have to carve into the fender a little bit, and then hopefully I won't be above the hood. I shouldn't be. I won't be. So the other portion was this. I bought this from Steve, and this was another customer's F2 system. Guy went to a bigger blower, but this was set up for his application. Those are 1.25 inches each, so we're looking at 2.5 inches. What normally would come on your system or setup would be these guys. So this would fit in here between the cylinder head and this bracket. Well, they had to move it out for whatever reasons. I don't know why. And I just bolted it on that way, thinking, hey, maybe it'd give me enough room between the valve cover and the blower. As you can see, I'm half a hole off, and we're pretty much hitting. So I have to either notch the valve cover, or if the relocation bracket works correctly, I'm hoping it'll shove me over 1 inch and up 1 inch. If it does that, I think it'll work. But again, I got to wait for Steve to let me know what's going on with that. But one of the other things I noticed was how far out this sticks. Look at where the blower itself would actually be. You know, I'm looking down here at the crank, and it's like I'd have to be way out here with the crank pulley. So I don't think I'm going to be running that setup. So I have to get whatever it is figured out and on this thing to be able to mock up all my charge tube lines. So again, I'm waiting on all that stuff to show up. And then, like I said, Steve will give me a call to let me know if that works. If that doesn't work, option B would be to, I have another friend that can literally CNC me up whatever I need. So I would just buy probably a 1¼ inch chunk like that, and then have holes drilled in, and then I would then just thread into that thing. It's kind of like what the bracket is, the relocation bracket, but I would just make my own. I would have it set exactly where I need it to be. I can do that if need be, but if Steve's got something that's already done and I can buy it, put it on, and go, I'll do that in a heartbeat. But yeah, so that's where we're at. Again, it's New Year's, so hopefully you guys go out there, celebrate the New Year's. Don't get too crazy. Don't do too many donuts or burnouts, or at least don't get caught. But yeah, this is as far as I can go. So until we meet again, my friends, on the next episode, we should get all the charge tubes done, get the radiator in the car, and at least have all of that dummied up. And once that's done, motor comes out, we're going to start putting together the 1800 horse plus F2 combination for Black Pearl. So I'm excited for it. All right, you guys. You guys have a good one. See you soon.